Hi, gang. Hello, hello. I've got a winner of a poll question for this Friday. Are you ready? Do you think that President Trump secretly hopes his tariffs are struck down by the courts, sparing further negotiation and the perception of taco? Trump always chickens out. We'll get back to that in just a moment. Great news from my team at the Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app. You can live bet while you watch the game. Live betting is better on the Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app. Detroit baseball is rolling along. Plus, you've got pro golf, you've got pro basketball hoops, you've got the hockey playoffs. As I keep saying, it's an exciting time of year and nice just through, the device in your hand to have a little skin in the game. Live bet on games while you watch with the completely redesigned and ultra sleek Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app. The new hot online slots, they've got them all. Panda Queen, the Big Easy, Rake and Bacon Odyssey, Medusa's Golden Gaze. Plus, they've got those that are based on the streamers that are great. Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Squid Game. New users get a $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. That bonus has to be wagered. Go to playgunlake.com and download the app right now and enjoy all the action, all the excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. You've got to be 21 and in Michigan for the Play Gun Lake online casino and sportsbook app. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, the Thursday poll result at smerconish.com, which has spurred some terrific conversations and a great guest appearance yesterday on the program by Ankush Karduri, who I'll mention again in just a moment. Trump's battle with which institution has the highest stakes for the nation? Pretty much a dead heat between the choices of academia and the media. I was surprised that roughly 39%, 38.86%, 39% said it's big law. He is at war on three different fronts. And I was asking the question, where are the public stakes the highest? Where do we all collectively have skin in the game? And I was surprised that big law won out. The overall picture. 9 firms capitulated to his executive orders and demand for pro bono work. 4 have fought the law and the law won. Actually, just a song lyric that popped into my head. But 4 have fought and 3 have been victorious, and 1, there's no outcome yet. So you have to wonder if the 9 that capitulated, some of the best known, white-shoed firms in the nation, if they've got some buyer's remorse for having taken that deal. Today's poll question, do you think President Trump secretly hopes that the courts continue to put the kibosh on his tariffs? I think it's a great poll question. It's the result of some tariff whiplash, which began on Wednesday night at about 7 o'clock at night on Wednesday night. A 3-judge panel of a court that many have never heard of, the U.S. Court of International Trade, struck down the vast majority of President Trump's tariffs. I tell you up front, 3-judge panel comprised of judges appointed by Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Ronald Reagan. So not a case where he can easily or with credibility say, it's the liberal bench that is thwarting me again. So there's that. Although, as I noted yesterday on air and had a really good conversation with David Urban, because at a recent continuing legal education gathering that I moderated, we thought he had the short straw, when he was tasked with discussing the U.S. Court of International Trade. And literally this is like 3 weeks ago that we were having the conversation in a CLE format. That was the day they were having the argument on this case. And to his credit, David Urban said this could be really big. Well, nevertheless, the president retains the power to impose a 15% trade deficit tariff related to a trade deficit, and the 25% levies on metal and automobile imports were issued under different legislation. So that survives. But all of his country-specific tariffs, do you remember Liberation Day? They're the ones that are in jeopardy. And then lo and behold, that was from Wednesday night. And then yesterday, Thursday, a federal appellate court paused the Wednesday night ruling from the Court of International Trade. This was the United States Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit ruling that they're restoring his ability to levy these tariffs using emergency powers that he declared earlier while this gets sorted out. So what does it mean? It means that there continues to be confusion and uncertainty. And if you want a good barometer of that, look no further than the market yesterday, because the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which started off very robust and the futures were hot, ended up being up just 117 points and change, or 0.28%. The S&P 500 was up 0.40%, NASDAQ 0.39%, the New York Composite 0.33, the Russell 2000 0.34. My point is that the markets, I think, had been poised to have a really big day, and then they didn't. They had a decent day because that news came in before the markets closed. So, the comment that I hear most often from small, medium-sized business leaders who call the program or are in my orbit, or those who are representative of big business that I often hear from, they say, we can't plan. We don't know what to do about the supply chain. Think of our friend Steven Singer, who came in studio recently and shared in granular detail what it means to his ability to run his business. And in his case, he saw, Trump coming and the pledge of the tariffs during the course of the campaign. And he told us, he made sure that he had inventory for a year because he saw what might unfold relative to President Trump. Yesterday, I won't do it again, but yesterday on air, I took the time to go down the rabbit hole of the opinion from the United States Court of International Trade, Judges Katzman, Reif, and Rastani. I'll just note that the entire opinion began this way: while, quote, Congress may not transfer to another branch powers which are strictly and exclusively legislative, Congress may confer substantial discretion to implement and enforce laws. Thus, courts have consistently upheld statutory delegations so long as Congress lays down by legislative act an intelligible principle to which the person or body authorized to exercise the authority is directed to conform. And they didn't find that here. But they found that, frankly, in the same way that relative to border control, the president relies on I'm trying to think of what it's called, Alien Enemies Act. In similar fashion, he reaches into the most archaic of legal ideas and says, okay, this is my justification. And this court found that he just didn't have the authority. The way they concluded the opinion was as follows: the court holds that for the foregoing reasons, the IEEPA does not authorize any of the worldwide retaliatory trafficking tariff orders. The worldwide and retaliatory tariff orders exceed the authority that was granted to the president to regulate importation by means of tariffs. So he doesn't have the authority. And then one other thing I just want to point out in the context, and then I'll tell you where I come out on this. There was that exchange on Wednesday, I think, maybe it was Tuesday, with Megan Casella from CNBC, their White House reporter, who said, Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. Boy, this must have pissed him off. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response? First of all, the president said he'd never heard of that before. That's BS. And then he launched into a tirade. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100%, then down to another number. I gave the European Union 50%. They called up and said, please, let's meet right now. I gave them till June. So he had this whole explanation and justification, concluding with him saying to her, that is a nasty question. That is a nasty question. Don't ever say what you said. And boy, the minute that he showed that vulnerability, I knew there'd be memes galore about him taking umbrage to that. And indeed there are. There's like a taco covered sport coat that I've seen somebody created. It may have been on Drudge. Okay, Michael, get back to the poll question. Yes, let's get back to the poll question. Are his fingers and toes crossed? Is he really hoping that the courts continue to stymie his tariffs? I'm voting yes. I'm voting yes. Publicly, he will brawl. That does not mean that I'm wrong. Publicly, he will brawl. He's going to get mileage out of this battle, notwithstanding that I told you 2 of the 3 judges came from Republicans, Trump himself and President Reagan. But he's going to get mileage out of his battle with the judiciary, rally the base, probably fundraise. But he's recognizing, he must note that the markets have responded the best when he's lost these tariff fights, because the markets don't like the uncertainty that comes from it. And Donald Trump, no matter what he says, is driven by the numbers, his own polling data and the market data. So I think this is a convenient exit ramp. It gives him the opportunity to say, I ran on a tariff platform. I did exactly what I said I would. I would have done more, but the courts wouldn't let me do it. Those liberal, SOBs, yada, yada, yada. And he's spared from having to renegotiate with everybody around the globe. He still gets some tariffs. He'll be perceived as the unpredictable guy. That's the way he is. And that's the way he wants to be perceived. He wants to be feared by domestic and international opponents. And so that perception lasts, but the tariffs will now have some modicum of stability. The markets will react. He'll live to fight another day, and he'll move on to another battle. That's my answer to the question. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and it'll make for great fodder on air. Do you think President Trump secretly hopes that his tariffs are struck down by the courts, sparing further negotiation and that perception of taco, right? Trump always chickens out. Go vote at smirconish.com on this, the Friday poll question of the day. Please like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Thank you for that. And set yourself up for notifications, okay? I'll see you soon.